Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Rumour Review with Odds Changer. The transfer window deadline is looming ever closer and clubs up and down the country are desperately trying to get new signings in the door so they can strengthen their squads. It's going to be an interesting last few weeks. I think a lot of clubs still need to do a lot of business in and out probably just to trim their squads and balance the books. Today I'm delighted to be joined by the Bleacher Report's football insider Dean Jones to discuss all the latest comings and goings and all the latest transfer rumours. Thanks for joining us, Dean.
A pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good. How have you found the window so far?
Much better than people thought it was going to be. You know, when the whole COVID situation began, we thought nobody would have any money, blah, blah, blah. And that seems to be the case for a lot of Europe. But in Premier League, as usual, they're just completely defying the odds and just spending seemingly more money than ever, some clubs. So, it's been quite fun. And I've got to say, I think that the next 2 or 3 weeks really are going to be busy. There'll be a lot of business happening between now and deadline.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Dean. Yeah, they always seem to find the money from somewhere down the back of the couch for some of these Premier League owners to do these deals. Like the likes of Kai Havertz was big money. Chelsea, as we know, have been the biggest spenders. But firstly, we're going to have a look at the situation at Manchester United. They've been one of the quietest teams in this window. Lack of transfer activity at Old Trafford, causing a bit of unrest among the supporters. Donny van de Beek, the only big name signing in so far for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's side. We all know about the Jadon Sancho situation. That's been the transfer saga of the summer. What's your take on the situation at Old Trafford, Dean? What do you think's happening and where are they going wrong?
I don't know if they're going wrong. I mean, I understand as a fan why you would be frustrated because you're not getting any messages. You still haven't signed Jadon Sancho. And you have no idea what your squad's going to look like at deadline and whether there's going to be any improvement from where you are now. So I do understand as a fan why it would be frustrating and the temptation to have a go at the board or the Glazers or whoever else. But, you know, United really are trying. Like they are trying to get Jadon Sancho and they're just not happy with the terms that have been set out in front of them. And it has been very complicated, particularly in terms of dealing with the agents' fees that are involved in it. I know people don't like to hear that and they're like, oh, just do it, get on with it. But United were burned on this by Pogba, by Alexis Sanchez, and they're just kind of setting their stall out now and they don't want to go down that path again. So United will make more signings. Like, there's not any doubt about that. They're definitely going to have new faces in before deadline. I can't guarantee it's going to be Jadon Sancho, but there is still a good chance it's Jadon Sancho. Like, Solskjaer's been told that it can still happen, like it's not dead. But they are obviously looking at other options as well. I'm sure people have seen that Ousmane Dembele has been linked. I think that the chances of that are probably similar to Jadon Sancho, to be honest, because there's all sorts of hurdles to get over, and it's not going to be cheap anyway. Ismail Assar from Watford is probably one to really look out for. I think that is a deal that could come through. United really like the player. I think an initial loan with a view to buying him would suit everybody. I think Watford are realistic in the fact that holding onto a player like that is going to be really difficult for them this season. And I'd say that there's a good chance of him coming even if they do sign Jadon Sancho because of the strength in depth that they're going to need. And then, of course, there's Alex Telles that's being linked as well, and United trying to figure out that position of the field. So, look, they are trying stuff. There are complications, and it is frustrating, I'm sure, as a United fan. But there are 3 weeks left. There is time to get this done. Don't give up yet.
Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom for Manchester United fans just yet, even though that performance against Crystal Palace set a few alarm bells ringing, I think. Do you think attacking players should be the priority, or should maybe a centre-back should be something that Solskjaer is looking at?
I 100% think they need a centre-back. I think the problem is that they need to get rid of one or two before they can bring one in, and I think that's been their big problem. Still think there's a good chance Chris Smalling will go. He's keen to go, wants to play in Italy. But then you've got, you know, the Eric Bailly situation and Phil Jones. There's just so many people in that position that they don't seem to have any faith in, and they need to get rid of someone else as well as Chris Smalling before they bring someone in. That's my understanding of the situation. They've looked at people, and I think Upamecano was heavily linked a couple of weeks ago, and that deal's not happening in this transfer window, that's for sure. I do think that it's possible that one might happen in the new year. So I think or what I wouldn't surprise me is if United sign somebody with a short-term vision as a centre-back option and then go bigger for someone like Upamecano in 2021.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of competition for Upamecano. I think Bayern Munich strongly linked to maybe signing him in Germany as well. But yeah, like you, Dana, I believe United need to bring in a centre-back to play alongside Harry Maguire. Lindelof's been up and down probably the last few months. So I think somebody who can help Maguire would definitely strengthen that United team. But as we all know, the lack of signings puts pressure on managers. Solskjaer, obviously that defeat to Palace wasn't the ideal start for anybody right now. And we've got a certain Mauricio Pochettino sat back in Argentina out of work. I think we all know that he does have his eyes on this Man United job. Obviously, Solskjaer did very well after lockdown last season when United finished really strongly and had some good performances and results. What do you think? If results don't improve for Solskjaer, could he be in trouble maybe around Christmas time?
Yeah, I think it's a really difficult one to assess because, you know, I've got decent contacts at United and the official message is that absolutely Solskjaer's staying. You know, they've got full belief in him. They've tried the Van Gaal path. They tried Mourinho. You know, this is the latest thing and they can't just give up on this again and completely rip up the philosophy and go to something completely different. So they do want to stick with it and they insist that they're going to. I do think that we're going to have to see how things pan out though, because you know, that start to the season against Crystal Palace was bad, and not just the result on the pitch and what you could see with the naked eye from watching it, but just from hearing stuff that went on around the game. You know, I heard that at least one player was quite vocal in shouting at Solskjaer during the match over to the dugout to ask what on earth was going on. I think that there is concern about the direction that they're getting from the coaching staff and, you know, whether the people even around Solskjaer are equipped to get the best out of this team. And I think that there is also a question over motivation and whether they really can get the best of someone like Paul Pogba, who will constantly get dug out and is always kind of the scapegoat in a situation like this. But the reason for that is that Paul Pogba should be one of the best players in the world and he's not at the moment. And that you have to find out what the reason for that is. And the starting place is the coaching staff. And from what I was told, he just looked very, I don't want to use the term lazy. I just think just slow and just didn't have that oomph about him in the Crystal Palace game. Not even in the game, in the warm-up, like I was told that he barely ran. He was stood there for a lot of the time doing tricks and kick-ups and playing games. And, you know, if that's the man...
Is he angling for a move away?
I don't think he's angling for a move away. I don't think he turned down a move away, but I don't think he's angling for it. I think that there's definitely, this will be his last season at Man United, I would say. I don't see him spending any time beyond this year because Pogba needs to be winning trophies and competing for league titles, and he's not going to do that at Man United. That's just not coming at United in the next few years. So he does need to leave. I think he's just got to get his head down. He does need a good season to make sure that a path opens up to him to Real Madrid, to Juventus. So he should have that motivation, and United just need to get, you know, that extra 10, 20, 30% out of him.
Yeah, big job on Solskjaer's hands and his coaching staff to get the best out of Pogba because, like you said, Pogba, one of the best players in the world on his day, and if Paul Pogba's performing, Man United are going to get better results as well. So yeah, it's a big few weeks ahead for Manchester United, not just on the transfer front as well, but also with the fixtures coming up as well. So we'll be keeping a close eye on this situation at Old Trafford. Moving on then, one of the most surprising transfer links this week has been Barcelona's pursuit of Norwich defender Max Aarons. Came out of the blue a bit, this one. Nobody really expected a player who's just been relegated from the Premier League in the Championship to be possibly heading to Barcelona. Were you shocked by this one, Dean, or had you heard anything on the grapevine?
I was surprised, yeah, to the extent that I literally had started texting people to find out if it was really true. But it was coming from, I think, Ornstein or someone was the first one to tweet it. So when it's somebody that you respect in the transfer world that puts it out, you know there's got to be something to it. And yeah, the message came back that absolutely, you know, Barcelona have been trying to sign him. They've been trying to sign him for kind of 20 million mark, and Norwich just aren't going to do that. Norwich really, really value this player, and Norwich have got a really good vision of the future. Now, last season, they had such a good plan, and it just really, really didn't work out for them. But I know that they're going to bounce back from that, and that they have a philosophy around the club for how they want to build. And part of that is that they're going to get young talent. And if the talent's going to go out the door, then it's going at a premium price. And Max Aaron's at £20 million, they're just not even interested in. So Barcelona are going to have to come back with quite a lot more money than that if they're going to get him. Max Aaron's is really, really highly rated. And I think Norwich know that Barcelona are not the only club that are watching him right now.
Yeah, like you said, they Norwich not to be pushed about in this transfer market. They weren't to be bullied by Liverpool in the pursuit of Jamal Lewis that time, and they held out and got a higher deal from Newcastle in the end. But yeah, Max Aaron's, I think he must be pushing for this move to Barcelona. These opportunities don't come by much for young English players especially, but I think he played well for Norwich last season. Obviously, Ronald Koeman sees something in him as well. We know that they're in the market for a right back with Nelson Semedo making that move to Wolves. Also talked that Barcelona in for Serginho Dest from Ajax. It looks like it's between them and Bayern Munich for the American international. So do you think Norwich will be able to hold out, or will Aarons have to maybe push for this move for it to happen?
Yeah, well, it's bad news for Aarons that they're now looking towards Dest because, no offence to Aarons, but Dest is a better player. He's going to be better anyway. Dest has got a really high ceiling, and I think that he can be, one of the best right backs in world football. And Dest's dream is really to play for Barcelona. That's what he's always wanted, and that Ajax to Barcelona path has been trodden by some great players, and I think he's very keen to try that. Bayern Munich is certainly something that's interesting to him. Not sure exactly how he'll fit in at Bayern though, and how many games he'll get. So yeah, it might be bad news for Aarons if they are going to go for Dest, which it looks like they are. They've just got to come up for the money, but they've just got all that cash for Semedo, so there's no real excuse now, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe we could see flip side, maybe Aarons to Bayern Munich. That's been mooted before. If
yeah, it has, yeah.
It's out in Dest, so maybe that could work out for both players. Dest goes to Barcelona and Aarons maybe to Bayern Munich. So I think Max Aarons could be in for an interesting final couple of weeks in this transfer window, as lots of speculation regarding his future, and I'm pretty surprised no Premier League teams have come in for him. I know Spurs were linked, but they moved on to Matt Doherty from Wolves, so maybe this interest from Barcelona, Bayern Munich might bring others to the table. So yeah, we'll wait and see. What do you think, Dean? Do you think he'll move before the end of the window?
Part of me thinks he won't, I do think that Norwich, because they are playing hardball over the fee, I do think there's a possibility that they say, look, just give us a year to get back to the Premier League and then see how you feel. Like you say, obviously your head gets turned when Barcelona come for you, and if that opportunity passes by, it genuinely might not come again. But I do think that Norwich are so desperate to sell their vision of the future, and they want people like Max Aaron as part of it, that they might yet be able to keep hold of him.
All right, well, we'll watch this space to see what happens at Carrow Road in the final few weeks of the window. Moving on to transfer activity at Spurs. Obviously, they had a good week last week with Gareth Bale returning and Sergio Reguilon coming in from Real Madrid as well. Do you think they're finished in the market just yet, Spurs, or do you think they'll be looking for another striker?
No, they're not finished. Yeah, I think that they're probably the most surprising club for me, to be honest. I was told at the beginning of the window that Højbjerg would be their prime target, and that they'd look to get a right back and get Aurier out the door. And beyond that, don't expect too much. Well, suddenly Gareth Bale's through the doors. Now I'm expecting the world. And I don't think it's going to come too short of that, because they're being linked with Skriniar now as a new centre-back. And I mean, if they get Skriniar through the door, then that's a game changer as well. We're looking at a totally different Tottenham squad suddenly. So it'll be interesting to see whether they can pull that off, because he's a brilliant player. And then a striker, absolutely. I mean, Mourinho, as my understanding is, outlined to Daniel Levy a couple of weeks ago that he absolutely wants a new striker. And Gareth Bale's addition hasn't changed that, because he's not the type of striker that Mourinho was talking about. Danny Ings is the man, basically, that Mourinho wants, and he's made that pretty clear. There's a problem in the sense that Danny Ings isn't sure that that's the right move for him. I think Danny Ings burned once before by a high-profile move when he went to Liverpool. Didn't work out for him for various reasons. And he's found himself a really good home now in Southampton, and a place where he's really thriving. So Danny Ings definitely got reservations about whether he should join Tottenham. I wouldn't rule out, to be honest, somebody like Josh King going to Spurs, because once we get down towards deadline day, they are going to get some new faces in the door. You know, Daniel Levy always makes signings in the final week. There's absolutely no way he's going to let that pass by, even if they're not the biggest names in the world. And someone like Josh King at 15 million, pretty good signing, to be honest. So, I do think they'll get a striker through the door. So let's just see who becomes available between now and then, I think, before nailing down exactly who it's going to be.
Yeah, like you said, Dean, we all know Spurs have got previous when it comes down to late deals on deadline day, a few surprises, probably up the sleeve of Daniel Levy and Jose Mourinho. I think Mourinho, we all know, likes a big target man striker as well, so I think that probably will be the profile that he will be looking for. He's been linked with the likes of Milik at Napoli, obviously Bas Dost as well from Germany. He's been linked, the Dutch striker. But I think the big worry for Spurs is getting these strikers in. They don't want to be second fiddle to Harry Kane. They know probably they won't play a lot of games if that's the case. So Spurs might have their work cut out to try and get their top targets. But yeah, I think Spurs will probably do some business. And like you said earlier, Dean, they've surprised probably a lot of people with their transfer activity this summer, spending a lot more money than people expected as well. But for that to happen, there's probably going to have to be some outs at Tottenham as well. So sticking with Spurs, lots of rumours flying around regards Dele Alli's future. He was left out last weekend against Southampton, and then quickly reports broke of interest from PSG to maybe sign the England international as well. Looks like he's been brought back into the fold by Mourinho for the upcoming games. Do you think Dele Alli will leave Spurs when the transfer window closes?
I think that it's 50-50. It really is, because Daniel Levy doesn't want Dele Alli to go. He wants him to remain part of the setup. Mourinho is unconvinced by Dele Alli. I think that he thought he would be one of his key players. Something's gone on and it just hasn't happened. I don't know whether he thinks he's lazy, whether he just thinks he's not fulfilling his potential, whether there's more to it than that. I really don't know. But I also know that Dele Alli is starting to think that maybe he does need a new challenge, and that, you know, perhaps he's going stale at Tottenham. So I think that there's an opportunity for Dele Alli to leave. I think if he does leave, it'll be a loan deal. I don't think Daniel Levy will sell Dele Alli, and I don't think anyone's going to pay the £80 million that they value him at anyway. And I think that he was in PSG linked. I think that there'll be other clubs from abroad that are probably having a look right now. I know that there's a chance that Monaco have a look at Dele Alli. They've got a sporting director, Paul Mitchell, who worked in the deal to get Dele from MK Dons to Tottenham in the first place. He knows the player. I'm sure the idea of living in Monaco for a year wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for Dele Alli. Talk about a fresh challenge. I mean, you get to play alongside Fabregas in the sunshine, nice gaff down there. There's plenty of positives. So, yeah, I think it might be time for Dele to open his mind to a life outside of England as well. I think that the England team would benefit from it. I think that he would benefit from a change of environment and a change of culture. And if he really, you know, there is always that possibility that at first it looked like Mourinho was getting the best out of him for a little bit, and now it hasn't worked out. It's not that often that comes back around with a manager like Mourinho. Like, usually once you fall out of the picture, it's quite rare that you get back in there and back to your best. So might be best for all parties if this season Dele Alli does move somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a big year ahead of him, Dele Alli, with Euros coming up next summer as well. He's not a regular feature in the England squad anymore under Gareth Southgate, when he was probably maybe 2 years ago one of the first names on the team sheet. So it's strange what's happened to Dele Alli. What do you put it down to? What's happened to him in the last 12 to 18 months?
I don't know. As I say, I think that there is a sense of him just going stale. I think that the problem when you're somebody that's come up so young, so fast, you have this constant expectation for them to keep getting better and better and better. And Dele, you know, making that move from MK Dons to Tottenham so seamlessly and just slipping straight into the team, making an impact, scoring, assisting, to continue on that trajectory at that rate was almost impossible, to be honest. There had to be a dip at some point. And I'm sure there's been changes in his life as well that have happened. You know, he's earning more money. He's probably got constantly changing environment of squad members, team members, friends, whatever it is, like, he's so young to be dealing with all this stuff. And I think that you can forget that, you just look at these people as footballers, but they are humans. And I think that, for Dele, it just might be time to take a step back from Tottenham, reflect on it, and then in a year maybe go again. And don't forget as well that one of the reasons that Levy doesn't want to sell Dele Alli is because, okay, Mourinho might not believe in him, but the next manager probably will, and probably will be able to get more out of him. And let's be honest, Mourinho could be gone tomorrow, could be gone in 6 months. Who knows what's going to happen? So that's why Levy won't sell him at the moment.
Yeah, I think I agree on that one. Yeah. I think the manager could leave quicker than Dele Alli might as well. But yeah, I think that's a good info there, Dean, on the Monaco thing as well with the Paul Mitchell link. That's going to be interesting to see if Monaco follow up any interest in Dele Alli, because it seemingly PSG have cooled a bit now on their move for Dele Alli as well. So yeah, keep an eye on that Monaco one right up to deadline. Dele Alli, will he stay or will he go come the end of the window? But moving on then, probably one of the biggest moves this week in the transfer window. We're going to go abroad here. Luis Suarez seemingly on his way to Atletico Madrid from Barcelona. Obviously, we all know since Ronald Koeman's come in, he doesn't really fancy Suarez, and they're letting their third highest all-time goal scorer leave the Camp Nou. It's never dull when Luis Suarez is around. We've also seen this stuff in Italy this week of him reportedly cheating in a test for Italian citizenship. But again, I think this move still shocks me. I think Suarez going to one of Barca's rivals in La Liga could come back to haunt them, and I know Luis Suarez will be keen to prove a point to Barca when he does come up against them this season in La Liga. What do you make of all this Suarez situation, Dean?
Crazy transfer. There's always some, when at the start of the transfer window, I always get asked, like, oh, what's going to be the surprise? And obviously it's impossible to answer that question. Well, at the moment, I'm going to say it's Suarez to Atleti. Like you say, Barcelona at a time when they're going to struggle to win La Liga this season, you'd have to say. To let Suarez go and join Atletico Madrid just seems bonkers. And there's no better fit, really, for Luis Suarez than going to a team managed by Diego Simeone. They are made for each other. He's going to fit straight into that team. He's going to score a load of goals. And you also see Lucas Torreira being linked to Atletico Madrid. And again, like, absolutely perfect for that team and for Diego Simeone. So I'm really, really not sure where Barcelona are going to finish this season. They could surprise us all and win the league. Of course they could, because they've got Messi and they've got Griezmann and they've got game changers. But equally, they might struggle to finish in the top four because the place is absolute chaos. We've got no idea whether Ronald Koeman is actually any good. I'm not convinced at all that Koeman will last the season, to be honest with you. Luis Suarez is going to be really interesting, and it's good to see a big transfer in La Liga, to be honest, because they've been falling away a little bit in comparison to the Premier League, and they need some new excitement and some new storylines, and that's going to be a big one.
Yeah, like you said, Spanish clubs have struggled with the COVID and the financial situation of all that. But I think we all know it's written in the stars, Suarez to come back and score the winner against Barcelona this season, I think, for Atletico.
Yeah.
But I don't think they've done themselves any favours, Barcelona, here, because if they're trying to keep Lionel Messi sweet, they've just let his best mate go. So, again, that one doesn't add up to me either. So it just seems to push Messi closer to that exit door next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's got to be Messi leaves next year, isn't it? I mean, I'm just guessing at this stage, like we all are, but he genuinely was considering his future. I know that people all think it was a ploy, but Messi genuinely was weighing up what happens next. And I think even just by having that couple of weeks to throw his future up in the air, he's been able to get a vision of what is going to become available to him next and what his path is going to be for the next few years before he retires. And I think that he'd have got a good idea of that. He's seen that Man City were, quickly trying to put together a package to entice him, and including in that, the fact that there would be a path for him to go to New York City FC, which, I fully expect Messi to have at least a year in MLS before he hangs up his boots. So that wouldn't surprise me if that interests him. You'd think that Barca want to keep Messi sweet right now and try and win him over, but all I've read is that I've read one piece saying Koeman said that Messi should probably take a pay cut. Well, that's not going to make him happy, is it? And now he sold his best mate, so it's not going very well, really.
Yeah, it's been a summer to forget, I think, for Barcelona from top to bottom right now. But yeah, let's see how they get on in La Liga, and I'm sure they might try and do a few deals before the window closes as well. But you're a Fulham fan yourself, Dean. It's been a tough start to the season. Few signings brought in already by Scott Parker. Have you heard any whispers at the Craven Cottage who else might be coming in before they close the window?
It's very weird at Fulham these days in terms of getting transfer information. It's all done on analytics and data, and they are keeping it closer behind closed doors than ever in terms of who they're pursuing. So it's definitely been tricky, but the centre back Marlon is coming. Got to admit, I haven't heard great things about him. That's not filling me with optimism as a Fulham fan that desperately needs somebody to secure us at the back. Ademola Lookman, I've heard that they have been having a look at as well. And then I really, really need another goal scorer to back up Mitro in case he's missing for any spells of the season, which he will be because he'll be getting yellow cards probably every week. So, yeah, I've got to say, as a Fulham fan, it's already starting to look a little bit worrying. Let's see what happens. But if Fulham lose to Aston Villa and it's 3 defeats out of 3, you're already favourites to go down, and it's an uphill battle. So good luck, Scott Parker. Hope a lot happens over the next few weeks. He manages to talk Tony Khan around a little bit and get a couple of good signings through that door.
Yeah, I think Scott might be banging down his door to get a few more players in the building before the transfer window closes next month. I think new additions are needed, especially in defence. They've conceded 7 goals, I think, in those opening 2 games. So we'll wait and see what Marlon can do. Will he be the man to command that defence or not? But yeah, I think Fulham will be one of the busier clubs before the window closes next month. But yeah, thanks for joining us this week, Dean. Great contributions, great information as well as normal. Tune in next week for another episode of the Rumour Review with Odds Changer, and we'll see you then.